Welcome to another episode of Those Muckrakers. We are the shouty radio people, the anti-Nazi antidote to the poison in your ear holes. I'm Peter Van Pelt.
And I'm Pat.
And God, we've had a hell of a day.
A hell of a day, hell of a week, hell of a everything. Just like this country going straight to hell.
And I just spilled coffee in my lap, which is fine.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just moved into the 90s and got a TV for my bedroom, so I'm real excited about that.
Yar. And now I'm wondering whose situation is worse, yours with the lap coffee or me without coffee? It's really a toss-up.
Probably you without coffee, because lap coffee is still coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can still drink it if you're persistent enough.
Yeah, so, all right, so the situation that was happening earlier today, and I feel a little bit bad about it, but I've been real, I know before I was kind of like, let's reason with people, let's try to pull them back from the brink, we all want, the same things in life, but I've been, reading a whole bunch of Nazi ideology stuff recently, and listening to stuff on, the German army, and the more I listen, the more it's just, checkbox.
Starting to make sense to you, huh?
Yeah, no, fuck you. Well, the more it makes sense, and they're like, oh, this is what our government's doing. And so I've just been going after people on the internet. I got in an argument with this guy today, and I kept calling him a Nazi and telling him to stop being a Nazi collaborator. He called me unpatriotic. I called him a fascist pig. What was weird, though, was we've been trading insults. I called him a Nazi. He called me unpatriotic, said I was a window licker, this, that, and the other, da-da-da-da-da. And finally I said, why don't you stop being a Nazi bootlicker? And him and a bunch of other people were like, oh, you crossed the line. He's like, my dad fought in World War II. And I was like, well, how does he feel to know that he raised a brown shirt as a son?
Yeah, I mean, that's, it all started with Newnan earlier this week, right? Right after our last podcast, the very next day, in Newnan, Georgia, they had a big Nazi rally where people did show up to protest the Nazis, and in way bigger numbers than the number of Nazis that were there. And the police decided to rout the citizens and the anti-Nazi protesters and point guns at them.
Well, part of the problem with that is I feel like people are reading into it wrong. If you're a cop, and just massive numbers of people show up, you're gonna be a little bit nervous.
Right, pointing machine guns at people.
So
nervous.
I think part of what this is, so this is in Georgia, so we're both from Georgia, and I live in New York. So when there are big rallies in New York, the cops know kind of what to do, and they don't go crazy. I'm not saying that all the NYC cops are great, but they know what to do. But these cops in this small town Georgia police force have no idea how to handle or do crowd control. So they're just pointing machine guns into the crowd and then grabbing anybody with a bandana or a face mask and pulling them out and cuffing them. And
I don't know for sure. I was just gonna say, I don't know for sure, but I could swear they called in outside help, because from what I saw, there were a lot more cops in a small town south of Atlanta.
Yeah, and they may have gotten assistance, but they were freaked out, and that's part of the problem with this fake news nonsense, is that even trained police professionals are oh man, George Soros' henchmen are here, I better put guns on them. It pervades everything. People the people I was arguing with today, and I was like, you're all a bunch of Nazi collaborators. They posted George Soros is a Nazi links to stuff, and I'm like, this is Nazi propaganda. This is what I'm talking about.
Their argument was that George Soros in a 1944 said that was the best year of his life. But the thing is that he was in a concentration camp in 1944. If it was the best year of his life, it's because that was the year he got out of it alive, right? This is the year he gets to live and not be killed by the Nazis. And now they're saying he is the Nazi because that's how twisted their worldview is.
Yeah, so they're both calling him part of the Jewish global conspiracy, and they're calling him a Nazi at the same time. It's really irritating. But maybe I should just stop going. But I've gotten to the point where I'm these are Nazi collaborators, and I'm tired of being nice to them, because I guess I've gotten riled up, and then I'm Jesus, man, this is 1939 all over again. There's a popular demagogue, and people are putting ideology before merit.
Yeah, that's why he keeps putting people that he likes and that like him in charge of major heads of government, right? Like that's why Betsy DeVos is in charge of
God.
education, and
So
Pompeo is the new Secretary of State. He just got sworn in, even though it was a fight to get him in. Pompeo's in, and now he is what, fifth in line to be president?
Yeah, you ruined my day today. So you sent me a text and go, hey, check out the line of secession now. If Paul Ryan doesn't want it and Orrin Hatch is too old and crazy, guess who's president? And I looked down the line and I was like, oh God, Pompeo, DeVos is, huh?
It's just sort of a fun fact sheet. It's like, oh, and yeah, DeVos is in the line of secession too. She'd be 16th.
Yeah, did you
Mueller
know?
would have
did
to
you know
have
that?
a really busy day to get down to her, though.
Oh, my favorite person, and we're about to rip his ass today. Old sleepy surgeon, what's his face, is in line before her.
Oh, Oh, I looked for Ben Carson's name and I didn't see him.
Oh,
so
yeah,
he's right
yeah.
before.
Yeah,
Ben
Carson's before her. That dumbass Secretary of Energy is before. Like it's like a Batman rogues, huh?
Whenever you said sleepy eyes, it made me think, oh, are you going to go like the anti-Semitic Trump way with this because of the sleepy eyes Chuck Todd that Trump's always saying?
Oh, yeah. So if you're not following the news, Trump called Chuck Todd, old sleepy eyes Chuck Todd, which apparently is just a well-known anti-Semitic, like, look at the sleepy eyes. That's how you know they are the Jews. The eyes are so sleepy.
I am willing to believe that this is like in Clerks 2 whenever Randall yelled porch monkeys, but he didn't realize it was a racial slur against black people.
I'm not willing to believe that because
I'm willing to believe it because Trump is old enough that I could believe he just heard sleepy eyes going around when he was a kid, and he just thought it was a random insult.
No, but he's old enough that like his dad it was his dad that was part of a Klan rally in Washington, so he probably heard this. Huh? Grandfather. So he probably heard this from his He's just spending some time with his grandpappy and learning all these anti-Semitic racist things. But like the line of presidential secession right now looks like like a Batman rogues gallery. Like if you look down at it, you're just like, oh my God. Like it's like president, vice president, the Riddler, the Penguin, the Scarecrow, Bane, like
no, seventh in line is Mr. Freeze. How did that happen?
Like Mecha Hitler, like just down the line, it's the worst people you could think of.
Right, in charge of like Medicare distribution is Mr. Freeze, so he's just going to divert it all to his wife, and now everyone dies so that his wife can be unthawed and live.
So there's a guy I love, and we've talked about him before, but Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. He's got this other, it's called like Hardcore History Addendum, so it's like leftovers from his Hardcore History episodes that kind of didn't fit, and they're like 45 minutes long. So I was listening to one where he was comparing the German World War I army with the German World War II army, and how basically the German World War II army would have been so much better without the Nazis because they kept putting people in charge of the army without any merit. Like Hitler would be like, you who serves the hot dogs at the ball game, you will be the chancellor of the children's education. And he's like, I have never done that before. And it's like, too bad, you will do it now. And so then like...
You complimented my mustache.
Yeah.
So
like you had people that were completely unqualified, like running the government into the ground. And at one point, there was a general talking to Goering, one of his main guys, and he was like, hey, I don't know if that's a good idea to do with the army because of the economy. I don't know if I don't know if our 4-year plan is going to work. And Goering just went like, this is mine. I am doing this. Führer told me to do it. You will shut up. This is mine. I will do this. Like, so like you have a bunch of idiots running the government, and they're promoting people based on ideology, not on merit. And if you look at the government now, the government is just all the appointees are based on ideology, not on their merits.
Yep, it's people that hate the institution which they're put in charge of. Like Rick Perry, whenever he did the oops, I can't remember third thing, EPA was going to be the third thing he says. It's like, we got to get rid of the department of this, that, and the other. And the third thing is, oops, I can't remember, I'm sorry, during the presidential debates, right? Yeah. That was way back during Obama, I want to say. This wasn't during Trump's run. But
Rick
anyway.
Perry's run a couple of times. But yeah, like...
Yeah, in 2012 he did that. Well, he wants to abolish the EPA. What did Trump put him in charge of? The EPA.
The Department of Energy.
No, the Department of Energy.
Yeah, Scott Pruitt's
the EPA was one of the other two he wanted to get rid of.
Yeah, Scott Pruitt's the one in charge of the EPA, and he's going crazy.
Right. Oh, my God. And Rick Perry didn't even know what the Department of Energy did whenever he was appointed to it. He thought that he would get to be in charge of oil, and he's like, well, I'm from Texas, I can do this. But he's, that's not what it does. It looks after our nuclear supply. So he wanted to abolish America's nukes while probably talking about how we're too soft on foreign policy.
You know, I'm
what
conflicted.
we need to do is get rid of the nukes. Then we'll come off being real strong.
I'm conflicted about nuclear energy, but honestly, nuclear energy is our best chance at like lawn-burning clean power plants. Like, it's the cleanest energy we got. It's like, this is the best thing we got, and there's, but, so...
Yeah, and like, cartoon representations of it, like The Simpsons, make it seem like it's dangerous. Plus, we get examples like Chernobyl, but that was extenuating circumstances.
It was also the Russians who didn't really pay attention to safety. Although Chernobyl has given us, like, an amazing chance to study how nature comes back after, like, a nuclear meltdown. And, like, the stuff happening in Chernobyl may improve the future of nuclear energy if we don't destroy ourselves in the next 4 to 8 years in the process, if we can get to like a nuclear powered future. It's been a crazy week. It's been a good week. One of my favorite tidbits is Cosby is going to jail.
Oh, I have a pudding pop. Yeah, that was great with Cosby. Fat Albert was trending. Puddin' was trending. But yeah, to quote Larry Wilmore from The Nightly Show, I still haven't forgotten about you, motherfucker. Yeah. They finally got him, too. He's getting 10 to 30 years. And
I hope they don't go, oh, he's old and blind, let him serve it at his house. No, let him serve it at fucking federal pound-me-in-the-ass prison.
He's not a member of Trump's administration. He doesn't get to serve his prison sentence at home like Paul Manafort's doing.
Fuck that dude, man. And what was interesting about the court case was, so the way that they won this, and it was brilliant, and they should have done it the last time, and they should do it in all sexual assault cases. A sexual assault expert... That's probably not the right phrase. A sexual assault expert sounds like a rapist, doesn't it?
Like a successful one, yes.
A sexual assault trauma expert. She gave testimony for like 3 hours at the start of the trial before the prosecution even called anybody else. So she basically conditioned the jurors to understand what a victim of sexual assault acts like, and like how they react and what they do, right?
Right.
Because usually the defense of sexual predators is like, well, hey man, I mean, come on, who wasn't she sleeping with, right? It was just a case of a jilted lover. Come on, she wanted it, right? Come on. Why did she?
The classic victim blaming move of, well, she wasn't wearing that dress, she wouldn't have had the Jell-O pudding.
Yeah, Theo, Rudy. So it's always character assassination because. And that bothers me so much because there's no other crime where you could really blame the victim. Like, if we're in court because you fucking stabbed me like 30 times, like...
And my defense was just like, well, if he had done a few more push-ups, he might have been strong enough to fight me off. But, like, he was clearly not armed. Like, he wasn't wearing a vest.
Yeah.
He didn't have Kevlar on.
Come on.
So he's just asking
if he didn't want to get stabbed, why is he walking around with his fucking midsection wide open for a stabbing? Huh? Who hasn't stabbed him? Like, that defense would fall apart anywhere else except in sexual assault cases. And there was a really interesting Nightline episode of this guy who was trying to get exonerated from his, manslaughter charge. So he was a young guy. I think he was like one of those like just starting community college age guys, married and everything. And there was he was like, I guess he was hitchhiking or something, or his car broke down. He needed a ride, and got picked up by this local guy who was like a deacon in the town, like a real good guy, right? And so what ended up happening was this deacon, this like nice guy, upon like trying to take the guy home, stopped and I guess tried to force the dude into like sex. Like he started choking him, and the dude like pulled a knife out and stabbed the guy in the dick like a whole bunch of times. Pushed him out of the car and left him to bleed out, drove the guy's car back to like a truck stop and had like a hamburger. And so this poor dude got convicted, and like when it went to court, like 10 other dudes in the town like all came out and go, yeah, that dude did that to me too, but I didn't want to tell anybody. So they got him convicted on the like, what kind of man would eat a hamburger after being choked and nearly sexually assaulted and killing a man? And I'm like, you know what, dude, after all that hamburger
serious...
Huh?
Yeah, I was going to say, people react to serious, stressful situations in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, to me, hamburger sounds pretty good. Like just sitting down
After having gone through all that, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the problem is people think that like victims should act a specific way, especially in sexual assault, which is usually done by somebody that you know and trust, which makes it even worse. So like, you know how messy just like a breakup is, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to divide your friends and all that. So now imagine in amongst your group of friends, now you got to tell the story about how your other friends sexually assaulted you, and they're going to deny it, and this is going to like just rip up the whole fabric of your life.
Actually, that kind of reminds me of something from this one game, Persona 4. There's this one kid you can hang out with called he's the Hanged Man persona person anyway. His sister's murdered near the top of the game, and whenever you hang out with him, the first thing you notice is that everyone else in town hates him because he never acts like they want him to act. That's the point I'm getting to here, is that he's not behaving the way people expect someone whose sister was murdered to behave, because they all expect him to behave as though he just learned that it happened. So he should be in tears, he should be devastated, he should be distraught. So if anyone ever sees him like with a smile on his face, they're all like, "Oh, what kind of monster is that?" And they just judge him super harshly for that. So he's never allowed to move on with his life because some stranger might see him, recognize him as being the guy whose sister was slain, and just get all up in a shit about it.
Yeah, and so that's the thing is like, so they opened the court case with this woman explaining exactly how victims of sexual assault generally react, and it educated jurors, and now Cosby's going to fucking jail, and good fucking riddance, man.
Yep. God, I mean, I'm really disappointed about this. Now, I was really never a fan of Cosby. I like the opening credits to Fat Albert. That's about the most I ever liked Cosby. But at the same time, I like the idea of Cosby. The idea of this...
What, a secret rapist?
No, just a wholesome father figure, right? Now, Ozzy was always saying that you can't trust someone that's too good like that. If someone starts coming off too good, then that makes me suspicious. But I don't know. He was right, I guess.
Yes, but I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody without visible vices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you don't smoke, you don't drink, you don't do drugs, like, you know, you're not like, I'm really into miniatures, or like chew your nails, or like, I can't figure out what's wrong with you. I'm like, well, this is not good.
Well, right now I don't smoke or drink anymore, but
yeah, but I've seen your vices before, and I know what lives inside you, so that's okay.
Yeah. Also, if anyone sees my desk, it's covered in amoebas, so that's definitely a problem right there.
When you said that for a minute, I was thinking of amoebas, and I was like, ooh, ugh, that's gross.
It's Nintendo toys, just video game tat.
So Cosby's going to jail. It's a great day for everybody except for rapists who are going, oh no, guys, the tide is turning. We'll have to stop. Stop publicly parading our rapes.
We'll have to stop serial raping people so much, I guess.
So fuck that dude. Yeah, he's done, and I hope he dies in prison. And honestly,
I can't imagine him making it out of there alive unless it's on some kind of weird technicality.
Well, my whole thing is I never liked Cosby. I never thought he was funny. I never liked the Cosby Show. I was always a Family Matters guy.
Me too. I love Family Matters. That's the show I watched. I never watched the Cosby Show. It was always Urkel and Carl Winslow.
I saw somebody's status and they were like, I mean, it's good he got convicted, but it just his comedy was such a big part of my life, and it just seems so sad. And I'm like, you're fucking sad because the comedy that you grew up with was tainted, like, but you're not more sad. Like, I was just like, your fucking priorities are fucked up. Like, if I found out that, like, Carl Winslow was a serial rapist, I'd be like, you know what? Fuck him, fuck Family Matters. Like, goddamn, I wish Steve had killed him. Like, I would be like,
Carl Winslow, go home, and wait for the police there.
It'd be like if you found out the dad from Step by Step was a serial killer. I'd be like, all right, well, you know what? I can just be like, I enjoyed it during my childhood before I knew it was part of something horrendous. And, now I don't care.
Was that the one with the guy living in a van outside their house?
Yeah. Cody, he lived in a van outside.
Was he related to them, or is it just like a guy that lived in a van nearby?
I believe he was related to them.
Okay, that's a little less weird.
Yeah. But so either way, that fucker's going to jail. So the thing that makes me really, really, really angry today, on top of everything else, so we had these tax cuts passed by the government that benefit the rich and nobody else at the expense of the poor and the national deficit.
Tremendous fucking scam.
And now, fucking butt puppet Ben Carson is raising the rent on people in like government housing.
Yep, he's tripling the rent rates for HUD recipients, the ones that are the worst off in HUD. He's taking them and tripling their rent, pricing them right out of having homes, which is going to throw them right out into the streets. And then whenever we see a massive explosion of homelessness and drug use, I don't know, the Republicans are just going to shrug and say, I don't understand why people say that we're against the poor. Why do they say we hate the poor?
Well, no,
That's
what they're
not
going to
true.
do is they're going to hand this off to the Democrats or whoever the fuck is next and go, good luck cleaning this shit up.
Yeah, and we have to spend so much goddamn time cleaning up their mess that they can point to how the world's hasn't really changed from the start of their regime to where they are right now in the Democrats, right? And then that way they can tell their followers, hey, look, they didn't change anything. It's like, well, we were cleaning up your mess. That's why nothing's changed. We can't make things better until we're done stopping the world from burning.
A thing I was listening to, they were talking about if we don't, so we bailed out companies, but we're unwilling to hand a bailout to people under college loan debt. And they said actually in the current college loan debt, the way the debt is accruing, it's going to cause like a collapse, like an economic collapse. And I'm like, good, because I was talking to somebody at work today about like college and how maybe college isn't for all kids, but the important thing is kids shouldn't go to college if it's going to put them in debt. Because if I wanted to buy a house right now and I went to the bank and I go, hey man, can I get like $100,000? The bank would be like, please leave our lobby. So I can't, as a 32-year-old man, can't get a $100,000 loan to buy a home, which they could repossess. But I can take out $100,000 for college education as an 18-year-old. How does that make sense? That's predatory lending, pure and simple.
And colleges only charge that much because banks will give them that much, right? Like they will charge much as banks are willing to give them because, you know, they're all like, well, the students are doing it through this system, so that's how they'll get the money. And then we just have them be in debt forever. It's like, oh my God, going back to the HUD recipients, if one of them has like a sick kid and they bring them into the hospital, the doctors can charge them $10,000 to give them an aspirin, and now they just have debt for the rest of their lives. Like, the fucking debt is horrid in this country.
We're living in the goddamn, like, you remember Back to the Future where Biff wins, like, because he steals the almanac?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're living in that fucking future. I feel like the bald guy with the shotgun, you know, the principal? That's who I feel like.
If anyone listening is not aware, Biff from Back to the Future is actually based on Donald Trump. He really is, because they thought that would be like the perfect icon for someone who really, really shouldn't be president, and they modeled Biff after him. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's what's fucked up, is that in the timeline where Biff becomes president, the Cubs never win the World Series. But in our timeline, the Cubs won the World Series the same year that Biff became president. So how does that fucking work? God damn it, Back to the Future. You can't have it both ways. Those are supposed to happen in two different timelines.
I wish Back to the Future would make another one where they would fix everything.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or are we just living in like the peeled off timeline? So, you know, like every time on that one, in that movie, basically you create a new timeline when you change something, right?
In which timeline? In Back to the Future, you do not create new timelines. You erase the old timeline and replace it with the new one when you change something.
So it would create a paradox if it created an alternate timeline. That's what they were worried about, right?
Maybe, but because Marty started to disappear whenever his parents didn't get together, it showed that there could only be one timeline in that universe. There can't really be paradoxes.
I thought it would make more sense that if each timeline just kept branching off, so every time you change something, one timeline continues on, and then you've just created a new timeline.
That's how it happens in, like, Terminator and Dragon Ball, but in Back to the Future, it's just one timeline.
I think in Terminator, every time they make a new Terminator movie, the writing just gets worse and then branches off.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, which is funny because I just bought a Cyberdyne Systems t-shirt.
Which is awesome.
today. Yeah, it fits weird though. Like it was made by robots for robots, which I guess makes sense.
Yeah. So, going back to Ben Carson fucks the
Ben
poor.
fucking Carson. God, oh my God, like it's hard to hate someone so sleepy and stupid, but he is ruining fucking people's lives, and he's just like he just doesn't seem to be bothered by. Well, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe we should just raise the rent.
What we have here are people that are too dependent on government handouts. What we're going to do is make sure that they can't get the handouts, and then they'll die in the street, and then they can't take any of our money. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying he's an asshole. Because, yeah, if you think people are too dependent and you just cut them off to die.
By the way, once they're in the streets, they can just go to the emergency room to seek medical attention for things that will not happen to them if they're not homeless. There's a lot of diseases associated with homelessness that can be cured by having a home, but whenever they have them and they're homeless and they just go to the ER to get it treated, those bills go back to the taxpayer, so it actually is cheaper for a society to just keep paying into HUD like we should be.
We've seen time and time again with homelessness, if you provide people with homes, and I get if you're a real capitalist, it's a hard pill to swallow, but if you look at the dollars and cents, instead of having them be a drain on the system and going to jail and fucking pissing on like public sidewalks and taking a shit on buildings and all this other stuff that cost us money, if you provide them housing that is either cheap or in some cases, guess what, buddy? You just get to live here in this apartment provided by the government because you're homeless and it's better that you live here. If we do that, that is cheaper than the strain they put on the system, they put on our police, they put on our fucking hospitals because they have a place to fucking live.
And any money that they then spend that came from tax money gets redistributed into the local community, which more evenly distributes money throughout a community, so that is also better for everything. And also, Ben Carson just paid like $100,000 for a desk, so if he hadn't done that, that's free homes and rent for everyone in this system for quite a while.
Yeah, man, like, dude, just the sheer waste. That's the other thing, too. It's not even ideal. Like Trump's golfing trips waste. So, people are like, oh, man, you're telling me that they want to pay $15 an hour when our American soldiers don't get 15. But the motherfucker's taking enough golf trips, we could just fund all the VA problems. Like, we could just fix all the VA funding.
Trump costs, like, what, $25 million a day for him to go golfing, and he does it every single weekend? With that money, we could just go ahead and give free education and health care to everyone in America, but instead, no, it's him fucking golfing. And that's for some reason allowed, because that's not socialism. It is socialism, though. We're redistributing the wealth. We're just distributing it in a way that the deplorables are okay with, which is letting their own, Mango Mussolini go golfing.
Somebody said something today, and I found it interesting when I was in that argument where I was calling people Nazis.
Yes.
They go, how is your life worse now that Trump is president? Huh? How's it worse? I bet it's not. I bet it ain't.
I feel empathy for others, and I feel horrible for Puerto Ricans. And now Ben Carson fucking the poor is going to put about 4.5 million people out into the streets.
So that's the problem, is the what about meism, is that you don't think it's a problem until it's at your doorstep, but you don't have enough empathy and imagination to go, well, man, there's a lot of other people that are really fucked. I'm just lucky that I'm a white dude and not like an immigrant or a person of color or a fucking woman, or just anyone from Puerto Rico. Like, I'm very lucky in that my status and situation has not changed yet.
Or
but
one of the 4.5 million neediest people on HUD. Was they're super fucked.
Here's what's going to happen. By the way, I got a Puerto Rico thing I read about, and I was thinking about this, but this articulated it. What they're going to do in Puerto Rico is they're not going to help Puerto Rico at all, right? Till the entire island is just like a cheap, bankrupted, like no one owns any land, and the developers are going to swoop in and like fucking turn it into like a Carnival Cruise Line island.
They might. But
because they can buy everything super fucking cheap.
It just seems crazy how the GOP just seems so dead set on recreating the French Revolution. And I know what you're thinking. That's not going to work because they don't have the public doesn't have the military on their side yet, right? But keep in mind the French Revolution took 80 years and 5 tries before they pulled it off. We still got to get to round 1.
Well, the other thing is, it's also really hard for like soldiers to shoot like civilians in the streets when that's the thing. When you're turning your own soldiers on your own people, it's a lot more difficult. Like,
you mean like how the military tanks were rolling through Newnan earlier this week to defend the Nazis?
Okay, so you know what? Maybe all right. I'm just saying, like they weren't shooting people yet. It's bad. Look, man. Fuck you, I'm trying to stay optimistic. Listen, I know our country is infested with Nazis and water is turning the freaking frogs gay. I know this. I'm trying to stay optimistic. When we're hiding in an attic behind a bookcase and trying to be real quiet, I'm going to be like, hey guys, look, maybe if we just kind of stick it out in this bookcase, it's not so bad, right? We got space to lay down and the bread. Like, I'm gonna keep the optimism, because if I don't keep the optimism, I think that I have a fucking aneurysm and I die.
Well, we'll do story time right quick then. Here's an anecdote I read from a couple people that are on HUD. There's this couple in Texas, right? They're given $177 per month for food, which means they have $44.25 per week for 2 people to live off of. And right now, the GOP is telling them that that's just too much, and that amount needs to be reduced.
Yeah, so it's that whole thing, that if you just let the poor starve to death, they'll just be dead.
Yeah, you know what the poor need to do, Peter? They need to stop wasting their money on things like food and start using their money to buy more money. Then they wouldn't be so poor. Have they ever considered that?
Here's how we fix, and I know it takes money and it takes funding and time to do this, but here's how we fix this. What are the absolute necessity industries in the United States, like nuts and bolts, fucking putting hands on stuff and working jobs that we need, like teachers, nurses, you know what I mean? There's a lot of jobs like that we absolutely need, right?
Right.
Then we make the pathway into that nearly free. If you want a job, then you should be able to get a job, like a career job, not like a McDonald's job. That's the thing. All these people are willing to work. I don't know very many people that are just unwilling to work. If you want a job, you should be able to get a job. But that's the problem, is we don't have the jobs, or people don't have the training to get the jobs, because we're not providing the job training to get people into like programming and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there was initiatives for what's it called? STEM, right? But
yeah.
Now like colleges are kind of doing that, but the government has no such programs anymore, because our current government doesn't even believe in science. Like I saw what was it called? I'm trying to bring this picture up. Science alarmist. You're a science alarmist if you believe in science, if you believe in facts and reality.
Please read that tweet again. That made me just like, oh, we are fucked.
Yeah, from Thomas Massey, which is a representative. This is an actual congressperson.
Hold on, who is Mr. Massey a representative of? Let's give him his full due. He's a representative for who, where?
Hold on, I'll pull it up.
Yeah, so because I want to if we get any of his voters listening to us. Yeah, if any of his voters listen to us, I want to give them his full bona fides so they can vote his stupid ass out of office.
He is Thomas Harold Massey, is an American entrepreneur and politician who has been the United States representative for Kentucky's 4th Congressional District since 2012.
All right, so good people of Kentucky, you have a choice. The choice is vote these pieces of shit out, because my fucking nemesis, the Turtle Man, also hails from your fucking state.
He is a senator from Kentucky.
So Kentucky, get your shit together. It's fucking the rest of us.
Yeah.
Fix your goddamn voting and fix your goddamn senators.
Yep.
Don't make me come down there. So help me God. We'll take those muckrakers to Kentucky, and I mean, after that, I don't know
on your chicken.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm threatening after that, but it involves a Louisville Slugger. That's right, a homemade baseball bat.
We'll get.
I don't know.
Roller skates. I'm
threatening the state of Kentucky, and I don't even think anybody in Kentucky listens to this.
Probably not.
Because they don't. Because they're not going to have internet when the net neutrality goes away. That's the other thing. Poor people fucked themselves out of internet.
Yeah, wasn't that that sort of went through like a couple days ago, and no one said anything about it, right? Because we're one vote shy of protecting it, and we didn't do it.
Yeah, we're done. So it's going to affect rural hospitals, Kentucky, and like schools, Kentucky. Yeah, fuck it, man. Fuck it all. What are we doing? What? Let's take this podcast to Mexico.
That's probably going to be the only place that's safe to live when all this is over. When the French
I'm
Revolution
kidding.
kicks in.
I just watched a documentary on Mexico. I don't want to go there.
Yeah,
because
the president saw that too with the caravans of Mexicans coming up through the borders.
No, I'm fine with the Mexicans that come here, but like it's the Mexicans over there, like the cartels, like they just like they kill journalists real fast, like just real quick, like no hesitation. And I'm glad nobody's shown Trump that yet, because I'm really waiting for like okay, so maybe I'm just saying maybe we cut off a few journalists' heads, we put them in front of a bodega, they get the hint.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered that last week, that he's totally down for throwing reporters in prison and stuff like some other countries do.
So I read a news thing about the caravans today, and it's fascinating. So human rights group. So the United Nations allows anybody from any country that's like to go to any other country that's in the United Nations. You can go to any country that's in the United Nations. FYI, we're in the United Nations, and the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights states that if you are a United Nations member, if someone comes to your shores and they say, I gotta get in, I can't stay in my home country, I'll be killed, I need asylum, you have to investigate it, but you have to give them asylum. So this caravan of people from Central America are like, hey, we're coming and we're applying for asylum because we're all going to get murdered if we go back. And that's what he was talking about. And he's like, no more caravans, okay? Like, they're not sneaking across the border. They came and knocked. They're knocking at the door going, hey, you remember this UN thing?
That's just like how he said that the FBI broke into his lawyer's office. They didn't break in. They had a warrant. But
yeah, that's like that time I got pulled over and the cops broke into my car when I was pulled over. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
You want to call it a break-in? But yeah, so they're not sneaking across the border. They were like, hey guys, we're coming. Just so you know, we're almost there. We'll be there in 20 minutes. We're map questing it. Okay, we're there. Hey, is anybody home?
Yep.
And I hope they fucking get asylum. Like that's like the president. There was recently a summit in South America that like the president didn't even go to, and that's really important because,
He sent Pence. He had the important task of staying in his golf course for all of last week. That's $25 million a day, by the way, that could be paying for doctor's visits and college.
Well, the problem is like. So South America, by our own claim, is our backyard, and we're not doing anything to help. Like Venezuela is in massive crisis. Like there's a huge humanitarian crisis going on in Central and South America, and like we won't even give them the benefit of like, hey, let's send a real president. The vice president, fucking. Goddamn Pence on his like itinerary had a meeting.
It made me laugh that you called him a real president, but that's cute. That's cute.
No, we need a real president.
Like, yeah, we need a real president. We need to impeach this current guy and put someone serious in.
Could we have just sent maybe Obama or Bill like to maybe
one of
talk
those?
With the South?
Yeah, that would actually have been useful.
You know what? I'll even settle for like fucking. I'll even settle for HW.
Yeah, HW's like hospitalized last I heard, but he can
By
go.
the way, he doesn't look like he aged so much as he just melted like a candle.
Well, I got my saltine crackers here. And
like he looks exactly like he always looked, except a little melty.
So
he's also like 9 million years old. Anyway, my whole point was South America's in a humanitarian crisis, and we're not doing shit for them. Like. Our fucking Puerto Rico is a Thunderdome. We're not doing anything for that. Like, we're kicking our own people out on the streets.
And Thomas Massey is trying to tell us not to believe in reality.
Oh, yeah. Hit me with that Thomas Massey quote. Sorry, I went off on Kentucky. And, yeah. All right, Kentucky, you listening? This is your representative. Go.
French president is a socialist, militarist, globalist, science alarmist, ... the dark future of the American Democratic Party.
Now, I'm real disappointed you didn't do that in like just a real Kentucky accent.
All I can think of is like Colonel Sanders impressions. French
right.
president.
Well, think of Colonel Sanders, but stupider, and I think you'll have Kentucky.
I'm just picturing like, what's Roseanne's husband's name again? The actor that plays him?
Oh, I don't remember. John Goodman.
John Goodman. I've seen him do chicken commercials as Colonel Sanders. French presidents are so. I don't know. I can't really do that. But someone.
I think it's much more of a like French president is a socialist, a militarist,
globalist.
A globalist,
science alarmist,
science alarmist. Yeah, like just like
Yep.
Jesus Christ, the dude sounds like the dude sounds like a Forrest Gump clip. Forrest Gump clip.
So it's all buzzwords anyway. But
yeah.
someone responds to him, none of that's true. Using fear rhetoric is not the answer. And he responds to this guy, I will advocate for militarism in front of the Congress. Macron said this. That's what Thomas Massey came back with, right? And so the random guy on the internet came back again and pointed out with a tweet that got way more likes than anything Thomas Massey said. The word he used was multilateralism. Boy, is this awkward. So that was a wonderful series of tweets there that pointed out that Thomas Massey has his own head up his ass, misheard the guy, and used that just to create like a string of buzzwords.
Yeah,
including one buzzword which is alarmist to me, science alarmist?
Science alarmist. Oh, you're just a motherfucker. Yeah, we're a science alarmist because the goddamn alarm clock is going off. The planet's not dying. The planet is not going to be able to support human life.
Yeah, the planet's going to keep being here. It's people that may or may not. But here's the thing, all the GOP really want to do is just keep suckling on the teat of the sweet, sweet oil lobbyist industry, right?
Yeah.
But the oil industry is the one putting all the CO2 into the air, all the extra CO2, which is throwing things out of whack. And I know that deplorables have their defense of this, cows put a lot of CO2 out there and whatever else. Yeah, but trees also absorb a lot of CO2, and when the earth is at balance, the trees are absorbing the right amount so we don't have too much. We need a good bit of it out there so that we don't freeze over, but if we have too much of it, we bake alive like Venus.
Yeah, well, I mean, we should also...
We gotta have
it's not just
the right balance, and they are throwing the balance completely out.
It's not just the CO2... It's the plastic in the ocean. We still haven't banned plastic bags and single-use straws. So they decided to force places in some places to have thicker plastic bags. It's you'll have to buy it. Why don't you fucking ban them? We don't need plastic bags. Get rid of them. Sell a cloth or a paper bag for slightly. If you would like a bag, it'll be $1. For this, but we don't have plastic. Single-use plastic straws. Fucking get rid of them. All these little things we could be doing. Fuck them off. That's just little shit we could do. Fucking sponsor a national everyone go outside and plant a tree today.
Well, we had Earth Day a few days ago, actually. Did you do anything for Earth Day?
I don't even know it was Earth Day, but I'm surprised the Republicans didn't just fucking launch a missile into the heart of Gaia going, this'll kill her.
Could be, but...
Hey, happy Earth Day. We're taking all the money from SNAP and children's food stamps putting into a missile to fucking blow up the heart of the Earth in hopes of killing its soul. Happy Earth Day, tree huggers.
Remember the rolling coal people? Whenever people tried to fight back against additional CO2 in the air, people would do their rolling coal trucks, a truck that specifically spits way, way more CO2 out. So they're producing 10 times the CO2 or 20 times or 50 times what a truck should be producing, deliberately burning that much extra gas. So
why were they doing this?
Just to piss off environmentalists.
So when you piss off environmentalists, you don't hurt the environmentalists so much as you hurt all of us, you fucking morons. God damn it.
Yeah.
But I can't wait till the air turns to acid. I'll be happy.
Right, but they don't believe that humans can produce enough CO2 to actually change the climate. So they don't believe in reality. So we don't share the same reality as them.
Yeah,
and that happens in part because the GOP, the only way they can convince people that their policies work is by convincing them to change realities, so that way the GOP can just keep getting money from the oil lobbyists. That's just how this works.
That's why at this point I don't even argue. I just call them Nazis. Yep. I just call and apparently when you call a Nazi, that crosses the line because my daddy fought in World War II. Well, he'd be real disappointed in you because everything he fought against is fucking now.
That's that Milo guy that's telling people, they call me racist. I guess I should go tell my black husband.
Milo. So what's Milo's last name?
I don't know. Otis?
It's like Yelena Popoulos, or like, he's a darling of the alt-right and the Proud Boys, who are the new brown shirts, if you don't know. They're all American, Trump. Like, they're a bunch of stupid frat boys. They think they're clever, like, and they think this is like a cool niche thing to be. So he happens to be gay, and like fucking uses that like you wouldn't like I'm gay, so I can't be a bigot and a piece of shit.
Basically, he uses it the way the GOP claims women use the woman card whenever they make arguments, which isn't true at all. But then the first chance they get, someone on their side uses a card to just excuse their behavior and their arguments.
You can be gay and still be a piece of shit. I know him. You can be a woman and be a piece of shit. You could be black or Latino and be a piece of shit. Being a piece of shit is something that anybody can be. It's not dependent on your sexual orientation, gender, or skin color. So this guy, this piece of shit, Milo, goes to a bar in New York City. Very well known that he's a piece of shit and a fucking Trump supporter, just a fucking absolute asshole, like human garbage. Goes to this bar and people are like, "Get out of here, you Nazi fuck!" And so he leaves and goes, I felt so uncomfortable, and I just, they were making threats at me, and they called me racist. How can I be racist? My partner's black. I'll go home and tell him that. And I'm like, dude, fucking Thomas Jefferson fucked his slaves, and he was as racist as the day is long, because he owned slaves. Yep. It doesn't matter if you're fucking a black guy. You could still be a racist piece of shit. That doesn't preclude you from that.
Yep. And,
it's like Cosby can't be a rapist. He was married.
I can't.
What the fuck are you talking about? So later on that night, Milo goes to this Proud Boys boat party where all these douchebags rented a boat and like hung out and drunk beer, and like he made a speech and seemed super happy. And I'm like, so 5 minutes ago you're bitching because people are calling you a Nazi. Now you and your Nazis rent a boat and you're super happy. I'm like, man, if that fucking thing had sunk the world to be a better place.
Yep.
What made me really sad, though, was a comedian that I really liked that I've kind of, like, I used to listen to his podcast. It was called the NYC Crime Report. Pat Dixon was there. And I like Pat Dixon, but I'm like, oh, Pat, you're a fucking alt-right moron, too? God damn it.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of knew he was from listening to his stuff, but I'm just like, But yeah, so that fucking dude, like, he called me a Nazi. Well, then don't be a Nazi, bitch. I don't know what to tell you.
So, God, I've barely even started looking at my Muckraker notes for this week. I've just sort of been letting things run.
Yeah, that's the way it goes, man.
Yeah. So, Ronny Jackson, the Veteran Affairs Secretary nominee, stepped down when it came to light that he was crazy. But actually, here's the thing. Okay, so what actually made him finally step down is whenever it was revealed that he had crashed a government vehicle while drunk, right?
Yeah.
But what he had like this long history of whenever he and a bunch of colleagues would go to stay at a hotel, he would get shit-faced and walk up and down the hotel line of doors and just bang on doors and yell at people through the door. He would hand out free pills to anyone at any time. They used to call him Dr. Feelgood because he handed out so many free pills. He would frequently get drunk at all kinds of inappropriate times and drive vehicles while drunk. And honestly, the more I heard about him, the more I started to think this would be a really awesome friend to have in my life.
You're describing him, and I'm like, he stepped down. I'm like, fuck it. Put this dude in charge of education. He sounds like a guy I'd like to party with.
Yeah, but at the same time, he would have been put in charge of our military veterans. So, this is also who desperately need the medication not being handed them. Well, yeah, true
if
enough.
He's Dr. Feelgood, then no, but yeah, like he would do a terrible job. Like Trump was talking about him today and goes, he was the finest man I ever knew. And I'm like, I was like, Trump, did you sleep? Did Trump sleep with this guy?
This guy came out and gave like a long speech about how the president's in tremendously great health. So of course Trump loves him.
Because he did probably touch Trump's balls at one point during the physicals. So.
Yeah, he's had his hand all up in Trump, inside of him.
He's got the softest hands I've ever felt on my balls.
So much bigger than mine, even though mine are big.
Even softer than Melena's hands, who sadly does not like to touch my balls anymore.
She doesn't even like to touch his hand. Like there's a 15-second clip of him trying to hold her hand, and she's just like brushing it off and batting his hand away.
Oh, I love those. Yeah. Your own fucking trophy wife hates you. You piece of human garbage.
I love the alt-right and the deplorables' defense of Ronny Jackson, though. They say that the fake news is just ruining his life with all the fake news. It's totally wrong, but he has to step down because it's too much. And that's their defense
so
of him.
it ruins lives are ruined when you are not. So the news made me mad again today. I have a running grudge with NPR because they're too nonpartisan. But they were talking about the Ronny Jackson thing, and they go, now, can you tell us, like, so what is happening in the White House what is wrong with the vetting process as it is right now? And I just yelled at the fucking radio. I go, because there is no vetting process. He meets a nice man on the street, and next thing you know, that dude is Secretary of the Interior.
Yeah, and also they don't get held accountable, really. Like, all he had to do is just stick it out, and he would have gotten sworn in, just like Papadopoulos or Pompeo. That was his name. Pompeo did. There's no accountability, which is part of an uneasy trend I've seen. The fact of the matter is, nobody in Trump's administration is ever held accountable for their actions. They may personally punish themselves by stepping down, but if they refuse to, then fuck all will happen to them.
And that's something we've talked about before.
The law, above consequences.
That's something we've talked about before, and I thought about it. I go, okay, so if Trump was like a hard Democrat, and these were all like Democratic picks, would I feel the same way? And I still think yes, because I think back to the Obama administration, and there was a lot of things that he did that I did not like. The same thing with like and probably the same thing with Clinton. Had I been old enough to understand politics, I did not like, and I was openly critical of like their policies, because I'm always worried about getting into an ideological am I just as ideological driven as the other people? Am I letting my people off? The people I like, am I letting them off the hook just because I like them?
Let's see. What was that one guy's name again that was accused of or like the photo of him came out where he's cupping that one girl's breast while she was sleeping?
Yeah. Senator Al Franken.
Al Franken. Yeah. What's your thoughts on Al Franken?
My thoughts on Al Franken were I was very upset that he did that because he had to go. Like, you can't. And it sucks because it's a weakness in that, like, we got to get rid of him because we lose any moral credibility if we don't get rid of him. But we also lose a very good senator if we get rid of him, but he's got to go.
Yeah, see? And so there's not really a double standard with you. You realize that he has to go even if you agree with him ideologically. And also, that's one thing that drives me insane is that the left is super fast to denounce and kick out their own, but the right will never do it. They have to step down themselves, but if they refuse to, there's no accountability, no stopping them. So that gives the right a decisive advantage, that they're willing to just be slime balls and not care, and their people don't care.
And I've talked to people, and that's like our weakness is we hold each other accountable. We're not 100% united behind our own Führer. Like we don't have a leader that we will just unquestioningly let anybody do anything.
Yeah, did you ever see anyone like vehemently praise Hillary Clinton during the campaign, like you saw with Trump, or even at all?
Yeah, I mean, like there were people that praised her, but like I think that I mean, like
I never saw like rallies of people just screaming Hillary's going to do it or anything. Yeah. It was always people was enthusiastic for Trump, lukewarm for Hillary.
Well, the thing about her is, like, if any man had her list of accomplishments, they would have been named, like, I was trying to make I was going to say Clark Kent, but, like, I'm trying to think of a better superhero that was just like, what's his name? Why can't I think of his name? Tony Stark. She's got, like, the same credentials as, like, a Tony, like, she's like Tony Stark.
She is Iron Woman.
If she was a dude... or had a goatee, people would be like, "Oh my God, he's a man." But like, because she was a woman, like the misogyny helped fucking just drive the fucking nail into her coffin. Like everything from like, oh, she's in bad health, she's weak, to like, oh, look how ugly she is. All things that they would, if Trump was a woman, they would have said all that. He fucking like, and that goes back to just the name calling of like, oh, she's an old crone. Dude, he's a hideous fat man with fake hair and a vagina neck. Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about?
He's 5 years older than her, and also guys don't live as long as women, so he would naturally be in worse health than her. But anyway, my point being is that the left just does not have the same energy for their side that the right has for theirs. So we're not ideologically driven, but we're also not unified behind like a single
Because all the lobbying money is with the right, and that's something upsetting.
The left has a lot, and they worm their way through quite a bit of it, a surprising bit of it, but they really aren't held as accountable for that.
The left has just like these structural flaws that don't allow them to unite the same way the right does. Like, I'm not even going to start calling them the right anymore. I'm going to start calling them the Reich.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just through, and honestly, like, I joke a lot, but I really am. I'm through playing games. Like, these people are wrong, they're fucked up, and they're more fucked up than, like, everyone, both sides are fucked. No, this is a more fucked up thing than almost, like, we've ever done before.
As of the Ben Carson thing, I'm really starting to think of them more as a hate group. But I will say that conservative ideology does have plenty of positives to it, right? But they are so far detached from that.
But that's the
thing.
These
been gone
are fucking.
For so long.
You know how they call any Republican that doesn't toe their line a rhino. Republican in name only.
Yeah.
They're all rhinos because they're fucking Nazis pretending to be just conservatives.
Right. This is a thing that happened to the Republican Party just as much as it happened to all of America. Their name has been stolen at this point. It's just the invasion of the body snatchers, like you said a few weeks back. Yeah. It's slowly happening. Just people are having their forms stolen away by this alien force that has happened to America. It's not who we are. It's something that's happening to us. We're going through a phase right now.
Yeah, and it's like I hope that we can pull out of it or fix it, or the madness will end or be cured or whatever before it gets to the point of like. If you remember the killing fields from like Cambodia, you had a real charismatic guy who's like, let's start everything over, year zero. Let's start murdering people. Like before it gets to the point where we start
Purge Year One. That's another movie coming out soon.
Oh my God! If it was the fucking, I'm not even gonna see. That's the problem. I start having purge fantasies. You lead me into like possibly threatening a sitting official, and that's what gets us arrested.
Well, let's talk about something that's less hot-blooded then. Nuclear annihilation update.
Well, here's the thing. So, everyone's like giving this dude credit for like uniting the two Koreas. He's not. They made him concessions that they were going to do anyway. But the two Koreas are talking, and I think it's because their nuclear test site collapsed. They have full nuclear capabilities. I think China was probably involved because what happens is they do nuclear stuff and it floats across the border into China, and that pisses them off. Yeah. But also, if their nuclear test site just collapsed, the United States has gone crazy. You know what? Maybe it's time for Korea to fucking North Korea talk to South Korea, because there ain't nobody else helping out. You know what I mean?
I loved waking up to pictures of Kim Jong-un and President Moon just walking around together this morning, and it was just one of the most inspirational things I'd seen. Like, yeah, okay, Un is still responsible for horrendous human rights violations, so it will definitely be an unjust peace that will continue after this union, but things will be so much better off than before still.
But it might start a softening, and maybe because ultimately what happened, like with the divided
Berlin
Germany
Wall.
with the divided Berlin, is like the thing is the Western lifestyle is like westernization is so much better than like the North. So like once it is able to seep in and it's not a completely closed system, it will erode whatever kind of old regime communist thing they've got going on. And they've got it on both sides. You've got a westernized China and a westernized South Korea. So like, yeah, North Korea is gonna change. It's not gonna change South Korea unless, my theory was, what if this is North Korea going, oh, we are friends now, and then like and then they go, we will invade you, like. So what if they sneak invade South Korea? Because that's a possibility, right? Like if we withdraw troops,
I think
and like
all
let
of North
Korea's...
Korea's troops are like too diseased and parasite-ridden to survive a trip across the border. Because nothing makes you sicker than foreign travel.
Right, but like, do you think that like if we pulled out of South Korea, that they would be able to fight off North Korea?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, North Korea's really not that well off. Like their troops are literally starved.
And I don't know, maybe that's what it is. Maybe the kingdom's finally close enough to collapse that they have no other options. But I don't think that it was, because somebody today on my Facebook goes, oh, did he just Mr. Magoo his way into peace talks?
No, God damn it. I do not want to see Herp Derp be given
it had
credit
nothing
for
to do
this.
with him. He sits in the White House and yells at people.
I mean,
this has a lot more to do with what's going on inside
with the
North
Berlin
and South
Wall.
Korea.
We have the famous quote, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Yeah, he didn't
but
do
with
that
Trump,
either. That was
we have Little Rocket Man. I'm going to go to the no-whatever zone.
With
except
old
I
Ronnie
won't.
Reagan,
I'll surprise
he didn't tear
you.
down the wall. It was an accident. Like the Soviet official was supposed to like give the word that like, oh, we're going to let limited something or other go. He gave the wrong order, and everyone goes, the wall's coming down. Rock and roll music and Hasselhoff. And like they're like, fuck it. What are we gonna do? Shoot them all? It's westernization.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
Yeah, ich bin ein Berliner. David Hasselhoff.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
So my favorite thing, and we got to talk about this before we wrap the podcast today. It's the fucking reason for the season, the entire reason that we're talking today. Our fucking president called into a morning news show and went on a psycho crazy rant until they cut him off. They hung up on the fucking president.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Sweet Jesus.
Here we go.
Oh, my God. So if you're listening to the podcast, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to pause the podcast in just a second. I want you to Google Trump calls into Fox and Friends, right? Should be the first hit. Listen to that. Then come unpause this shit and let's talk about it. Cool? All right. So by now you've listened to it because you've paused the podcast. What the fuck was that?
Oh my God. So he went on a 30-minute tirade as you just experienced, and I love how the Fox and Friends, three white people on a couch, it's Fox and Friends, they just sort of sat there bewildered, and they tried to get words in edgewise, and they tried to soften the blows. First of all, his whole reason that he states for calling in is that, it's Melania's birthday, so I thought I'd treat myself to something nice. And so they ask him the softball of softball questions, what'd you get, or Brian Kilmeade asks him, what'd you get your wife for her birthday then? And then he acts like he wasn't expecting that. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say anything. I might get in trouble. Maybe I didn't get her so much. Maybe a card. It's like, yeah, right. He didn't get her a card. He didn't get her anything.
My favorite part, though, is like he's president. He won it, baby. Fucking, as the Nazis, hey, man, he's your president, too. And I go, maybe, but I don't serve the Fuhrer. So he's the president. He won the election. He's still mad that he did not get the popular vote in the election.
He actually went on another rant about Hillary, another rant about the lying media, said that there was no path to victory, which is wrong, by the way. The CNN, MSNBC, etc., never said that. They never said that. Huffington Post said that, but they're not really considered a real news outlet. They are kind of like Fox News for the left, but I digress. No real credible news outlet ever said that there was no path to his victory.
My favorite part was the idiot implicated himself in obstruction.
Oh, right. He also incriminated himself so badly that they had to cut him off.
He threatened to go out. He said if the Justice Department doesn't stop going after him, he doesn't know how long he can stay away from it. Meaning that he's going to try to interfere with a fucking investigation.
Here it is. Here's the exact quote. And you look at the corruption at the top of the Justice Department, the top of the FBI, it's a disgrace. And our Justice Department, which I may try to stay away from, but at some point I won't.
Yeah, so didn't he appoint the head of the fucking Justice Department?
Yeah.
Aren't these all his appointees?
Yes.
So why, dude, stop appointing corrupt people if they're so corrupt, you fucking idiot.
He also fired the top of the FBI that he is bitching about here and replaced him with his own appointee, which apparently he still doesn't like.
Yeah. So you're going to come after the Justice Department. What are you going to do if they're so corrupt? Why are you the only non-corrupt guy in fucking Washington?
Here's the biggest bit of damage he did to himself, and the funniest bit. One of Cohen's best legal defenses is that he is the president's main lawyer. He does so much for the president that makes it difficult for the FBI to go through all of his legal paperwork, all the boxes that they got and brought in that they're going to shuffle through. they can't just like willy-nilly go through it all because that's
Well,
his main lawyer. So that would be like possibly.
They actually have to have something. This is really interesting. I heard a little bit how they do it. They have to have something called a clean and a dirty team.
Right.
So the dirty team has to go through the documents, hand off the relevant ones to the clean team, and the clean team can't see the other documents that were not relevant, right?
Right.
So you're kind of compartmentalizing to make sure that they're unbiased, and the clean team hasn't seen anything the dirty team has seen.
Right.
So they're doing everything they can to make sure they do it correctly. So this guy, Cohen's argument is basically, hey, I'm his main lawyer. Look, a lot of things are said between a president and his lawyer, okay? You know, we talk about sucking our own dicks. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on.
So there's a ton of stuff that the dirty team can't show to the clean team.
Yeah.
Until Fox and Friends ask them.
Yes, until.
So what type of work would you say you and Cohen do? First of all, Trump immediately admits that Cohen did represent him with Stormy Daniels, which until this point, they had always said that they were absolutely not coordinating, handling her at all with. That was just, Cohen said, I'm just doing that on my own. Trump always said, you got to ask him. He took care of it. I don't know. Now on Fox and Friends, he said, yeah, he does represent me. He did that work for me. But that's not what I was just talking about with the legal stuff. Because next, Trump says, but Cohen only does a tiny, tiny little fraction of my overall legal work for me. Just a teeny tiny bit. He's not my main lawyer. I have so many lawyers working for me, and he's not even that important. He's just like a side. Because let me tell you why Trump's saying this is because he always tries to distance himself from people that are in trouble. Like remember whenever he said, "Oh, that guy's just a coffee boy." This is the same mentality, right? They're trying to say, "I didn't know him. I barely know him."
It's like the Onion article where they go, Trump admits that the Onion article that says like after he gets in trouble, Trump admits that him and Don Jr. was mostly just a coffee boy, and he didn't really know him that well.
Yep. But here's the thing: what he just said is testimony from the President of the United States on national television, which 2 hours after this interview appeared in legal briefings at the FBI, which are now included in the Cohen case. Yeah, so now they're using his testimony that he and Cohen aren't that close really to now be able to go through way more of Cohen's stuff than they ever could before, and way more of it is now eligible to be used in court against him.
I'm probably going to be the only person masturbating to Fox and Friends for completely different ideological reasons.
Yep. So, I mean, they did cut his mic because state news is part of the propaganda arm of Trump's presidency. So they had to cut the mic of a sitting president, which has never been done before in all of history. But, to be fair, they did have a very important segment. I had to look this up to see what came on right after Fox and Friends. And you know what they interrupted the President of the United States giving a speech for?
Is this pandas fucking again?
Buck's famous scrambled eggs.
You know what I would have done? If I was at the news station and they were like, cut the feed, I would have pulled my gun because I imagine everybody at Fox News carries because, their guns don't kill people. I would have pulled my gun and been like, nope, we keep rolling. We do not cut the president. Do you understand? Yep. You do not touch that dial.
Don't touch that dial. We're just getting started. So, Brian,
and another thing, okay, like, I know a lot of people say that I hide my most serious incriminating documents inside Buck's scrambled eggs, but that is not true. And if he goes through my scrambled eggs, that will be a red line. Should not investigate.
I barely knew Buck. He was just the coffee boy. He brought me eggs once. And also we colluded.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, like...
I just love, at the very end, Brian Kilmeade, cut his mic and then said, well, we could talk to you all day, but it looks like you have a million things to do. And Steve Doocy was like, well, I think he was awake, and boy, did he have a lot to say. And then they quickly cut away from it.
The looks on their faces, they were just like, I would have loved it, dude. I would have why can't we get him to call into our podcast? This is why we need listeners.
Yep. Man, God, if we ever get real listeners, we definitely need to record this live on what's it called, Twitch or something. I don't know. There's got to be somewhere we could do it.
If we could just get on the air and just kind of go, it'll be like FOXX and Friends, like Fox and Friends. Maybe we could get him to accidentally tune in, and then we could influence the president.
We could call it Fox or Faux FAUX.
Yeah, like FAUX, like Fox and Friends, Faux and Friends.
It's Faux and Friends, but we can pronounce it Fox. He wouldn't know.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Any other big news stories? That was the biggie, right?
Yeah, that's the big one. But oh my God, there is so many things. Let me just speed through this very quickly. Nuclear annihilation update. On the 16th of next month, so we're going to come back to this one, he can pull out of the Iran deal, right? And this is going to badly hurt America for all kinds of reasons. For one thing, that means Iran goes from they can't make nukes for another 10 years to they can do it immediately. But
Right.
also, we're about to try and make new nuclear deals with North Korea, but they're going to see America shirking their deals with another country and then be like, why should we make the deal with the Americas? I can't do a
I
Korean
understand.
accent.
I understand why Iran and why these countries want to hang on to their nuclear arms, because we've talked about before is regime change is a lot less likely to happen when you're sitting on nuclear capabilities. And that's unfortunate, but dude.
Speaking of regime changes, nobody watching this realizes that it was Obama that made the deal and Trump's going to go back on it because he wants to destroy Obama's legacy by undoing everything Obama did. They're just going to see it as America made a deal, then America went back on the deal. Case in point, Canadian singer Shania Twain almost destroyed her career this week whenever she complimented Trump because she had no idea what was going on with the American election. Her take on it was that Trump was brash, abrasive, but he told the truth.
No, he didn't.
Right. See, he's a fucking liar and a con artist, which I'll get to the con artist thing in a second, but she doesn't know that because there's the perception versus what actually happened, and the rest of the world will feel the same way about it.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So if you lie all day, every day, occasionally your lies will be truths, just in the fact that, just playing the odds, eventually a lie will be true, and it will no longer be a lie, but you're still fucking lying.
Yep. So, also, the president lied his ways to billions. Speaking of con artists, this is just, I'm going to give the quick version of
Forbes
this.
thing. Yeah, and no one, that's the thing, is this should be a bigger deal, but no one gives a shit. We're so beyond the fucking pale, no one fucking cares.
Yep. So Trump in 1984 lied his way onto the Forbes 400 magazine, claiming to be worth $5 billion, which was actually mostly his dad's money. At this point, his own value was around $5 million, but even that was loaned to him by his dad, so he had never really made a dime. But he managed to convince Forbes that he had $5 billion by posing as John Barron, a representative of Trump, right? It's this Trump guy actually used his own voice. So there's this guy, Donald Trump, he's phenomenally rich. He has $5 billion. Now, after he got into the Forbes 400 magazine, he used that to then take out loans for $1 billion to basically build Atlantic City because he had never released any financial statements, so the banks didn't have any records of how poor he really was. So instead, in his interview with the bank for the loans, he showed them the Forbes 400 magazine. He's like, see, it says right here, I have $5 billion, I'm a real estate mogul. And they're like, okay, then it's safe to lend you this money to build buildings with. And then he used then he screwed contractors and went through a long series of lies and whatever. And here's another thing, is that he used those loans to pay lawyers to make sure that he didn't have to pay back the loans by tying up people in court that tried to sue him to get their money back forever. And he just kept up this con job for his entire career until he was able to become president, and now he's basically above the law. So he got away with it all.
So basically he's the world's best con man. He's like a really stupid Randall Flagg, from The Stand.
He's like an evil Forrest Gump, like that one congressman called him the other day.
That is true. Like the way Forrest Gump was just and then one day I met the president and I kept on running, and then I would run more scams, and then I would tell them I had money, but me and Mama knew I did not. And then I would make more
Mama always said life is like a couple hookers peeing on a Russian bed. Never know when you're going to get filmed.
Mama told me that this was my magic money and it could take me anyway, even though me and Mom knew that we'd never see a penny of that money. Man. He's a con artist, and he's he's good at it. It's sad that in a way, he's probably one of the saddest, human beings on the planet, in that, he seems like he's gotten everything he wanted, but ultimately in the end, he has absolutely nothing.
Yeah. God, I have a bunch of his tweets written down here that I thought in particular were good for something. He tweeted 25 times over last weekend, including things like the New York Times and a third-rate reporter named Maggie Haberman, known as a crooked H flunky, with flunky misspelled, who I don't even speak to and have nothing to do with, there's actually pictures of them together, are going out of their way to destroy Michael Cohen and his relationship with me in the hope that he will flip. They use ... non-existent sources, and a drunk/drugged up loser who hates Michael, a fine person with a wonderful family. Michael is a businessman.
Who's the drunk, drugged up loser?
He doesn't say. He doesn't say. Like, there's no context behind this. This is just like the president rambling on Twitter.
Dude, that's like when I tried to tweet about like the Superman movie 4 years after it came out, and I was live tweeting it, but everyone's like, what the fuck is he tweeting about? ...
is lying or making up stories. Sorry, I don't see Michael doing that despite the horrible witch hunt and the dishonest media. It's like, it's just weird fucking shit, and he's president.
If you know anything about witch hunts, you know they're pretty fucking successful. So if it indeed is a witch hunt...
We have found a lot of witches. There's been a lot of guilty pleas.
You know, in the 50s, we found a lot of communists. I'm just saying. So being like witch hunt doesn't make it all go away. That means you should be very worried. I hope they treat you like Giles Corey, you piece of shit.
This is will Cohen flip? And that was back when it was relevant to ask that question. Yeah, he's going to flip.
He's a fucking lawyer. He's going to do he's going to play the game until, like, it looks like it's jail time for him, and he's going to fucking sing like a canary. He's a fucking lawyer. He knows the ins and outs. He's not stupid.
Okay, so one quick good news corner, and then we can talk about the French president, and then that'll wrap us up.
Oh, what are we gonna say about Macron? Like, he just seems to be showing up and touching the president a lot to get what he wants. Like, hopefully he seems real good at it.
But let's do it the good news corner first.
Your fucking good news. God, I hate your fucking... Are you going to talk about Bob Dole again?
No, this is... God,
I hate this.
This isn't the That's Nice corner. This is good news. This is news.
Oh, this is a different thing. Like, this is like the Good News Network.
That's Nice is a sarcastic That's Nice. Good news is like, good news. Good news, everyone.
Your fucking segments. All right, what's your good news?
The Senate Health Committee just approved an opioid bill that is on its way to the Senate floor for a vote. After hearing 40 proposals from 38 senators, they agreed on something that was so bipartisan that it was unanimously approved. The House supposedly has 60 bills to shift through, and supposedly it'll begin to do so this week. There's probably an update on that I should have looked into, but whatever. But actual progress has been made towards action that 100 proposals mentioned above. Yeah, anyway, they actually have a bipartisan bill on the opioid crisis, and they actually spoke to real doctors and real experts on the matter to come up with real solutions. They got sick of waiting for Kellyanne Conway to take care of it, so none of this has anything to do with Kellyanne Conway's opioid thing, though I'm sure she's going to try to take credit for it after they do it. They just got fed up with waiting on her, and now they're actually going to try to save some lives. See, that's another way that Trump is killing people, is he put fucking Kellyanne Conway in charge of the opioid epidemic, so he was never serious about doing anything about it. So everyone that died from that since he became president, their blood's on his hands because he wouldn't do anything to help them.
I'm waiting for your punchline for the bill, like, oh, did the bill die of an opioid overdose?
No, like, this is the good news corner. It's this is actually going to save lives.
Is the bill just somebody that works for Big Pharma shaking a bottle of pills going, come on?
Apparently it's actually something that real doctors have helped put together
Are you sure this isn't like some Mao Zedong stuff where they're like, yeah, this new opioid bill. We're going to line up everybody that's an opioid addict against a wall and shoot them.
Well, we'll have to see after they're done amending it and stuff, but for now it actually looks good. It actually looks like it could be helpful.
Nice. Well, that's good, even though it's fucking like, the problem with these messes is it's not just a mess and then we fix it and it's over. They have long-term consequences and repercussions that are like throwing a stone in a pond. That's the problem with having a numbskull for a president that surrounds himself with other numbskulls. these people cause a ripple effect that will be felt for years and even decades, and take God knows how long to repair, if ever.
Yeah. But speaking of, more good news. Adam Jed, a member of Mueller's team, has started to take actions. His specialty is asset forfeiture, and he is...
Yes!
Yeah.
Take him. Go. When do I get to watch him on C-SPAN? Because I just got a TV, baby.
He recently did some court filings with Paul Manafort's name on it. So, because Paul is our only non-guilty plea so far, it looks like it's time to set an example of him and use him as a warm-up run to prepare for taking everything from other people. They're going to set an example of him to let other people know what happens when you refuse to flip.
I walked by Trump Tower the other day because I was in Central Park and I gave it the fucking finger.
I'm sure lots of people do that.
I know, but I kind of hope that they seize Trump Tower. That's just my greatest dream.
Just never run into the president in the middle of Fifth Avenue. I hear he's looking to shoot someone there.
Yeah, you know what? That would be great numbers for our podcast, though. We're just like, this week, I got fucking shot by the president, and nobody did anything about it.
I tried to do something, and they said fake news and fake blood.
Yeah, they're like, it's a fake blood. Okay, it's fake. Like, goddamn, yeah.
That's
son of a bitch.
It's liberal blood. The only notes I wrote down about him was his speech. We can choose isolationism. I can't do a good French accent. How do they talk?
We can choose isolationism.
Withdrawal and nationalism. This is an option. It can be tempting to us as a temporary remedy to our fears. I'm just going to read it normally. This will take forever. But closing the door to the world will not... Damn it? You want me to do it French?
No, I said, yeah, that's fine. That's fine, yeah.
But closing the door to the world will not stop the evolution of the world. It will not douse, but inflame the fears of our citizens.
Yeah,
so
and that's the thing.
He just point by point rebukes everything that there is about Trump's current administration, starting with xenophobia.
It's xenophobia and this fear of globalism, and it's like my guy, look, globalism's not going to go away. This is the way the world's moving. Trying to hide and be an isolationist and an America first and then the other is global. That's not how it works. Like, borders aren't like walls anymore. You're a fucking throwback. You're a fucking dinosaur. You're a caveman. Yeah. You are extinct. You can't stop the future.
Oh, I didn't set this up. I should have done that. So, like Peter said, this week the two of them were like prancing around like best friends. They planted a tree together. It was very sweet. Like, they were way more affectionate to one another than Trump is with Melania.
Yeah.
But then after they were BFFs for a while, then the French president came before Congress to give a rebuke of everything Trump stands for, and the Congress cheered for him. So it, more than anything, let us know that America's oldest ally understands that Trump is something that happened to us, and he can be extremely diplomatic and nice to the orange tyrant, but then at the same time let everyone know that this is still his stances, that he's still pro-reality, pro...
Well, I feel like that's what's great about the French, is they're like, hello, how are you? It's nice to see you. And then, like, they're also like, what has happened is a bunch of bullshit. Like, so, like, they'll be very cordial to you and be like, you are wrong, you are a racist. Like...
Yep.
What I'm really excited to talk about next time is now Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, was chancellor, prime minister, head of Germany, whatever she is. So she's got to do a whole montage with Trump, and I'm really excited to see how she's going to charm him.
Is he having a state dinner with her?
Something like that. Like she's doing the Macron, I guess. Like, she's coming over. So like he went from like a very suave French man to like this, just like now he's got a German woman, and I'm really excited to see how that's going to go. I feel because she's a woman, he's going to embarrass himself and not embrace her.
Probably.
But to be fair, though, they have said that like in his like business dealings and stuff, Trump likes to hire women because he I guess he doesn't feel threatened by them and like is able to communicate with them better because he was like a mama's boy growing up.
Oh, weird. I'd actually never heard that.
Yeah, it was all in Fire and Fury. So
I haven't finished reading it yet.
So maybe there'll be like kind of like a mother-son thing, and she'll take him out for ice cream and like cradle him to sleep and like, read him bedtime stories and shit.
Could happen.
Yeah, because Germans have the best bedtime stories.
Two last notes. Macron also asked him to come back into the Paris Agreement, and he also rebuked him for trying to break the Iran deal and asked him not to do this.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you show up and you look like a really cool dude and like you really flatter Trump, he'll agree to do whatever the hell he used to say because that's what he is. He's an agreeer.
Yeah, but he also agrees to do just whatever the last person that spoke to him said.
Yeah. So I mean, he probably won't do it, but he'll agree to do it, or he'll be like, you know what? I think that maybe we've been too mean to Iran. Like, why doesn't Iran send their guy to come hang out with Trump, and then maybe they'd get a better deal? You know what I mean?
Yeah, could happen.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the whole like. Sorry, your other notes. Yeah, just all I can think of is when I saw them together was that song. Let me tell you about my best friend.
I already closed the document. That should be everything for the week.
Well, we closed the documents, folks. We've closed the documents. We've drank the coffee. We've spewed the vitriol that was in our hearts for this week. Hopefully, we've had some laughs. Hopefully, next week, our president will be impeached, but don't cross your fingers and hold your breath. I'm Peter.
And I'm Pat.
And, yeah, that's your news for this week.